Young Andrew Tate was a very masculine man, who always believed in being strong and independent. He had always been taught to never show vulnerability and always be in control of his emotions. Growing up, he had been taught that expressing emotions was a sign of weakness and that real men don't cry. Andrew had been dating his girlfriend Lori for a year, and things had been going great. But one day, Lori broke up with him. Andrew was devastated, but he didn't let it show. He didn't cry or express his emotions. Instead, he channeled his anger and hurt into being determined to move on and find someone better. The fact that his brother Tristan was always there next to him, he avoided talking about the situation with anyone, even his closest friends. He didn't want to be seen as weak or vulnerable. On the other hand, I have a tennis friend in Vancouver named Paulie. He was a man who was considered by many as a simp for his tendency to put women on a pedestal and be overly invested in their needs and wants. He had been dating his girlfriend, Yelek, for 2 years, and was deeply in love with her. But one day, Yelek broke up with him. Paulie was heartbroken. He couldn't stop crying and couldn't eat or sleep. He couldn't believe that the woman he loved could leave him. He didn't know how to cope with the hurt and betrayal, and he felt ashamed of himself for being so weak. Andrew Tate and Paulie in Vancouver had very different ways of coping with the end of their relationships. Andrew's societal conditioning had led him to suppress his emotions and avoid vulnerability, while Paul had allowed himself to fully experience and express his emotions. Andrew put all his focus into work and self-improvement, determined to move on and find someone better. He avoided talking about the situation with anyone and didn't want to be seen as weak. He didn't want to be seen as a simp and be perceived as weak. He thought that by bottling up his emotions and not discussing his feelings with anyone, he would be able to move on quickly. On the other hand, Paulie couldn't stop thinking about Yelek, and the thought of her being with someone else consumed him. He tried to contact her, begged her to come back, and even went to her house to try to talk to her, but she didn't want to see him. He didn't know how to cope with the hurt and betrayal, and he felt ashamed of himself for being so weak. He didn't have anyone to talk to about his feelings, and he felt alone and lost. As time went by, Andrew realized that he had not truly moved on from the relationship and that he had not dealt with his emotions properly. He realized that bottling up his feelings had only made him more isolated, and that he needed to talk about his feelings and seek support from his friends and family. On the other hand, Paulie was able to work through his emotions and come to terms with the end of the relationship. He realized that it was okay to feel hurt and that expressing his emotions was not a sign of weakness. He also learned how to cope with rejection and how to move on in a healthy way. This is a gray area, and it looks like a win for the simp over the masculine man stereotype. However, this win for the simp is rare, and in general, it's the masculine man that comes out on top most of the time. It's important to note that every individual and every relationship is unique, and the way Andrew and Polly copes with heartbreak can vary greatly. Male stereotypes should not be used to determine how simp men and masculine men cope with heartbreak. Both men as well as women inclusively can have a range of emotions when dealing with heartbreak, and almost everyone can work through the trauma with time, communication, and support.